Perfect. Hey, everybody, good morning. This is Jason Matthews with Matthews Financial. I really want to get in depth. There have been some major changes about the PPP loan for the round three. And I think that's a very important information. I know it's Saturday morning. I got my Tom and Jerry shirt because I know some of your kids are watching cartoons while you watch this. But I think if you're a small business owner, you definitely want to hear the news and information that got released. It's going to help you. I don't care if you have no employees up to 500. I think this is a talk and information you need to have and you need to understand so you can put yourself in the best position possible. So today I have the communities banker Theodis Watson from Kansas City here, and just going to really just talk about what's happening with the new PPP rules that Joe Biden came out, and what adjustments or what you should look at when making these decisions. Theodis, tell us what's really happening with the new PPP loan and the programs that's going on right now.
Oh man, lots going on right now. Thank you, Jason, for having me on. Welcome everyone to this event. This is Theodis Watson, communities banker. Just really pleased to be here to kind of educate, talk to folks about what's going on. So yeah, Jason, lots going on. So the Biden-Harris administration recently increases the lending opportunity for small businesses, specifically for those businesses who are Schedule C or independent contractors. It's really going to impact them and of course other businesses that may qualify within that realm. But just kind of give you a quick tidbit, Jason, small business account for about 44% of the US GDP. That creates 2/3 of new net jobs and employ nearly half America's workers. So now millions of Main Street small businesses, especially our Black and brown businesses, owned small businesses, are struggling to make ends meet, and specifically during this COVID-19 pandemic. And so due to that, just the Biden administration and Harris administration are really trying to find ways to create additional capital for those small businesses. So kind of give you a little bit of background of why they're doing it. So since the Biden administration came in, the share of funding going to small businesses with fewer than 10 employees have been up nearly 60%. So that's great to see that those numbers have risen. The share of funding going to small businesses in rural areas have increased 30%. So that just tells you that, you know, some of the funding and the education that some of these nonprofits or small business organizations, resource groups are really educating, letting people know what's going on. And obviously you got people like Jason Matthews putting the information out there on social media, talking about what's going on. And then finally, the share of funding distributed through CDFI institutions, which are community development financial institutions, and minority depository institutions, are up more than 40%. So it's great to know that some of those small businesses or CDFI organizations are getting small businesses access to this PPP funding. As you know, Jason, a lot of people need it. So what are some of the changes that has happened? So since Wednesday, they have a 14-day period starting this past Wednesday, which only businesses fewer than 20 employees can apply for relief through the program. And so what they have done was they are still allowing businesses above that threshold to get access to the PPP funding. But what they've done, or to apply for the program, not get access, but what they've done was stop them from getting access to that funding at this time and allowing those 19 or 20 employees and under to get access to that funding. So if you go to your bank, they will still, if you're above that threshold, they will still allow you to have access to this app to apply. But the challenge is you will not be, your application will not be submitted, or they may have a pending session until March 9th when they open up that portal for those larger businesses. So what they're doing is allowing those 20 employees or less to get access to this funding. I just received a report the other day that there's still plenty of money out there, but they're trying to find a way of making sure some of these smaller businesses get access to that capital. Number two, they are going to help sole proprietors and independent contractors and self-employed individuals receive more financial support. So if you remember round 1 and 2, and even the beginning of round 3, they were looking at that net 31 of the Schedule C document, tax document that you may report to see what you qualify for. So business A has, X amount of dollars on netting on line 31, typically would divide that number by 12, multiply that by 2.5, and that was your max loan amount. So we were getting individuals getting $600, $1,000 because of that net bottom line. And we know why independent contractors do that. For one, because so they can have, write-offs. So as a sole proprietor, you have your gross wages and you write off everything because you don't have employees. You may not have all the expensive write-offs that other larger organizations may have. You try to write off things to reduce your tax burden. So in that case, that net line 31 is what you typically will have, and that's what you'll pay. And either it'll be negative or you may have a little number in there so you can reduce your tax burden. So what they're doing is now they're going to change that calculation. What that calculation is, unfortunately, we have no idea what that's going to be yet. They have not rolled out the new calculation. What they're stating is it's going to be early March is what they said. They'll roll out the new calculation. So my suggestion for small businesses who fit that realm is go ahead, complete your application, ask your bank to hold on to your application, right? Don't submit it yet until we all understand what that new calculation would be so you can get access to additional funding. So another change, number 3 of the Biden and Harris administration is, and this was a bipartisan bill, is to eliminate the exclusionary restriction that prevents small business owners with their prior non-fraud felony convictions from obtaining relief through the Paycheck Protection Program. As we know, there's been some small businesses. I know they're really trying to help those minority businesses who may have had, a situation earlier on in their life, change their life around. Now they're employing and create a new job, a business for themselves. They were excluded in the first round 1 and 2. Now they have access and the capability of getting access to the funding in which they were excluded before. And again, that's where opening up that 14-day window to get access to that funding. So individuals, you have a non-fraud felony case, you can now apply to get access to that funding. Another piece, round 4, key point number 4, they eliminated an exclusionary restriction that prevents small business owners who are delinquent on their federal student loans from obtaining relief. So again, round 1 and 2, if you had a student loan or if you were delinquent in your student loans, you were unable to apply for this funding. So this is a great opportunity to get access to those individuals who, again, may have had a situation happen, was unable to satisfy their payment. The government, the Biden-Harris administration is rolling out this, is removing that piece to allow you to apply for this funding. And lastly, they are number 5, ensuring access for non-citizen small business owners who are lawfully US citizens by clarifying that they may use individual tax ID numbers, which are called ITIN numbers, to apply for this relief. So this will really help our minority community, our Hispanic or any other non-US citizens have access to this funding, in which we, in America, we have a large population here who, again, are working and doing what they need to do. And now they're able to apply for that program.
That's a lot of changes, a lot of changes that are going to benefit small business owners. So people hear this news, so they say, hey, heard this news, let me go ahead and contact my bank on a Saturday morning and during the few hours that they're normally open, or should they wait until March? When do you think is the best time for people to apply?
I would say, yeah, contact your bank as your community's banker. As I always say, you need to know who your bank is. If you have a relationship with your bank, or if you don't have a relationship with your bank, actually, you need to go to your local institution and ask how you can apply for this funding. You can always go to the SBA.gov website to learn more about what's going on and these changes. The applications and all the documentations that you need are there. And my last point is contact some of your local SBDC, small business development centers. They have relationships with the SBA. They know where to find their information. They will help with you with your they'll provide technical assistance to get you access to this funding to help you get this money that you need. That, as a banker, that is something that I historically has noticed when I work with some small businesses, is again getting to know what documentation that you need, making sure you have the proper records that you need to qualify. Contact the Small Business Development Center. They will help you get that packet together and probably have relationships. If you don't have a bank, they can probably get you connected with a local institution to get you taken care of.
That's really good to know. Let me ask you this. If you already applied and received money from round 3 of the PPP program and got the 2.5%, can you automatically reapply for the 3.5%, or they're automatically cut checks for the people in the 3.5% for that 3.5%? How does that actually work?
So good question. So people do get confused of what that 3.5%. So to take a step back, if you already applied and you're a Schedule C borrower, again, they don't know what that calculation will be. I've heard mixed things. So, and I've heard they're going to look at the gross. So what you've made as a gross receipt. So if you made, and they'll cap it at $100,000, right? So if you've made over $100,000 on gross, and what they'll do is they'll cap it at 100,000, divide that by 12, multiply that by 2.5, and the max you'll get is $20,833. So that's kind of that cap that, or the max that a lot of Schedule C borrowers could make. So the 3.5 is really for still the restaurant industry. So the 3.5 is for the second draw for those restaurant industries who qualify, who has that 72 NAICS code. So those are the only people who qualify. But
say that code one more time for people who don't know. Say that code one more time.
NAICS. I should have known what that is. I will Google it, but if you Google NAICS, it'll tell you what it is. But it's the 72. So if you have the starting number of 72, blah, 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 usually it's 6 numbers, that would qualify you for that 3.5 multiplier. So to go back to your point, if you already applied for the PPP program and you've already received funding from your bank, I have heard 2 things. I've heard, unfortunately, you don't get access because it's not retractable. Then I heard they're going to allow individuals to get access to that funding. So that has not been set. The SBA has not provided any documentation on that. So I'm not saying either or. That information is still being developed, and hopefully we'll learn more in March or early March, which is Monday. We hopefully should have some more information about that, and we'll come back and talk about that. But if you have not applied, I just encourage businesses to go ahead and complete your packet, get it to your bank or hold on to it. Let your bank know, do not submit my application until they hear the new rules. Because what a bank don't want to do is go ahead and apply you and get you access to this money. And then these new rules come out and now they have to retract your application, modify your note. And that's a lot of paperwork and time we do not want to deal with. So hold on to your application or send it to your banker and say, hold off, do not submit my application yet until these new rules come out. So we don't know what that new calculation will be, but hopefully we will know in the very near future so people can qualify for that funding.
All right. Wow. That's really good information. Remember, hold off from applying until you get the news. A lot of these things are happening. There's a lot of wheels turning right now, figuring out the logistics, because the president says one thing, but he doesn't know the details or the logistics of how to get down. So the people at the SBA, the SBDC, the bankers have to get together and say, this is what he wants. Let's work together for it and let's figure it out. And they're working like crazy, figure it out. So don't be so open in a rush to go there. I remember when the first round came, I was the first one in line. I saw that you still get passed. That Monday, I was at the bank before they opened. I was like, open. Like the last Murphy's, the guy. And my bank said, hold up, man, we ain't ready for you yet. We got to get ourselves in order. Just because they announced the amount of money that you should get, it does not mean that we're ready for it. It will let you know when we're ready.
Yes.
Which was a huge information. And I had to realize that. I was like, I want to get it before it's gone. Because like it ain't that much compared to how many businesses are in America. Now, is this still going to be for a forgivable loan? I know one person, I ain't doing round two. It's not forgivable. It's a loan. It's a loan. Is that just an urban myth, or is it actually forgivable?
It's forgivable.
Say that one more time.
It's forgivable.
Say that a little bit louder for the people.
It is forgivable. If I can sing, I'll sing it to you. But no, hey, it's as long as you do what you're supposed to do. I encourage you, small businesses. I know there's some opportunists out there. As a banker, I gotta think that way. I apologize. But if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're spending this money on your employees and taking care of your family, taking care of their families. You keep the proper records. And that's another thing, Jason, that I want to talk to small businesses about. You're going to be required to hold on. They say 6 years, hold on to your tax records and everything involved in this program, this process. I say 7, keep it for 7 years, because they know that the IRS can come back and audit you at any time within that 7 years. I say 7, hold on to your records for a minimum of 7 years, anything dealing with this PPP process, because they can come back. I can't see them coming back for small businesses who got, $5,000, but they may want to come back and audit your records, because there's a lot of money going out the door, and they're going to find some way to try to recoup some of this money. Either it's going to be taxes or catching people for fraud or whatever the case may be. They're going to try to recoup these funds and try to reduce fraud. But I will encourage you, keep your records as long as you do what you're supposed to do. I'm gonna knock on wood. I can talk about that as well, but there was situations where people did not use all the money, and they were unable to use that. So there was a partial payment. So long story short, they was received $10,000, but they were only within that 24-week only spent, $9,000. So now they have a $1,000 loan on the books with the bank for 5 years at 1%. And we had some businesses just paying it off and say, hey, screw it, I'll just pay it off and get it off my books. But there could be an instance where it's not fully forgiven. But I would say 95% of our loans have been paid off in full by the SBA because of businesses provide the proper documentation. And I will say something about the EIDL. So the Emergency Injury Disaster Loan Program, where it's not with the banks, it's directly loaned through the SBA, where you go on the website and apply there. They have opened up that window. I would encourage you to go back online. If you did not get the loan before, you can go back and get it again. And actually, if you did apply for it, you possibly can get an increase depending on the various metrics that are available. That loan is a 3.75 interest rate for for-profit entities, 2.75 for nonprofit entities, a 30-year fixed rate. So again, that is a long-term, cheap rate money. But going back to the EIDL, there was a grant that people qualified for that. At one point in time, the SBA and the banks, well, basically SBA was reducing your forgiveness with the amount of the grant that you may have received. So they were initially providing grants of 1 to 10,000 for depending on the amount of employees that you have. And what they would do is, hey, if you received $1,000 grant, your loan was $10,000, they'll reduce your forgiveness by $1,000. So then you'll have a $1,000 bank note or loan on the books, and then you'll work with your bank for a payoff. They have now made all banks whole, or not now, they are working on making all banks whole and stopped reducing that EIDL grant from your forgiveness. So if you received a grant, you should not be paying that grant off. Your bank will not reduce your forgiveness. They remove that exclusion, and now everyone is whole. So, Jason, to your point, there was a point of time where the full amount was not forgiven because of that EIDL grant, but that has no longer been into effect. They removed that restriction, and they will now pay the banks the funds to make them whole. And what the bank will have to do is submit a refund. If you did have a loan or you made payments on that EIDL amount, they will refund you. So be patient. The banks are working through that process. The SBA have been started making payments back to the banks, but not all, but they are working on a process to be able to start paying those banks off so your bank can refund your money if you made payments to your EIDL or paid it off in full.
Good to know. Good to know. Real good to know. I have a question for you as well. I know some people are starting to receive EIDL notices to pay. Is that fraud or is that actual bill? It's coming out, 3 or 4 months ahead of time. There's tons of fraud happening, so people want to make sure that is a legitimate bill. People are receiving the mail for the EIDL. Is that correct or no?
That's legit. It's legitimate, SBA. But what they are doing is that's the interest. So they are billing you for the interest that is due. That's accumulated. You have 1 year to not pay on it. So depending on, if you receive that EIDL loan, August 1, they probably started billing you September, October, November. I think they've kind of been delayed in their billing. But yes, you're probably receiving a bill for the amount of interest that's accruing. You're not required to make a payment, but it's billing you the interest. And so what small businesses can do is you can start paying on that interest. So when that bill is due in August 2021, you're not having a larger payment. Your payment will be reduced. Your interest is minimized because you've been making payments. So yes, that is a legitimate bill. There's no payment required, but they're just submitting you. They're billing you for the amount of interest that's occurring because that interest is occurring daily.
So remember that you have 1 year to pay, 0% interest, folks. That's huge, right? So you have a 0% loan for 1 year. After that, 3.75 for 30 years. Don't forget that. You might have been getting all this free money all over the place. You think this one is some more free money, but the interest, you're going to have to pay back, and there's some interest if you allow the interest to happen. So go ahead and take care of that. Or be aware of it. I know a lot of times we forget, so many things businesses try to say, you got employees, got everything. You forget that. Put that memo into your phone on your calendar to make sure that you try to pay it if you can within that year for you to have a 0% loan. If not, understand that's going to be an added bill a year after receive that EIDL loan, which a lot of people might have forgot about. We keep talking about the PPP, but they might not have any information or forget about the EIDL loan, which is huge.
Jason, that's a good point. That's a good point, Jason. I have so many clients who called me who forgot they applied for the EIDL loan, right? I mean, it was early on because there was so much going on, and now they're receiving that bill, and you're right, they thought it was fraud, but now they're like, I don't even need this money. Business is good. What can I do? Can I pay it off early? Pay it off. You don't need it. But if that's something that you can do, or just start paying the interest, so your bottom line will be a little bit less at the end of the day. But it's 30-year fix, right? It's a 30-year fix, 3.75, the cheapest money you're probably ever going to get. So look at your books, make sure that's something that you are comfortable with. But you're right, Jason, it's so much happening, and it happened so quickly that people forgot about they applied for this EIDL money. So I would encourage them to keep an eye out for that. But again, you don't have to make a payment until 1 year of your anniversary date when you receive that money, but you will have to start paying on that here real soon.
Really good. And remember that. And if, like he said, there might be opportunities for you to get additional EIDL if you need it as well. So just be conscious of that, be aware of it. I know a lot of things in California, we even have a grant program for small businesses to receive grants. So everything can get lost in the shuffle, depends on where you're living and the money and operating in red zone and purple or orange here in California. And hopefully I think we're getting back in the red zone where some restaurants finally do open and the talks are still open, but you can always get lost in the shuffle. So this is really good information. Is there anything else that people might forget or is missing when it comes to the PPP that most people just don't understand that I'm missing out on, Theodis?
Yeah, I would say one thing is to be patient, right? And I mean patient. Once you submit your application, what's happening on the back end now, if you remember round 1 and 2, that money was flying out the door. Banks were getting approvals immediately, right? We were getting them like immediate. Now the SBA are doing some additional checking. And as a taxpayer citizen, and I'm sure you too, Jason, you kind of appreciate them kind of doing some hold or doing some additional research on the back end to prevent, some of this fraud. As we know, we've seen people buying Rolls Royces and all this stuff.
Hey, we see people buying Rolls Royces. We see rappers making rap videos. We have people in California for the unemployment who are on death row receiving unemployment benefits. It was like the whole San Quentin prison was getting unemployment. Like, man, y'all not even, how you on death row for 23 hours a day? How you getting unemployment benefits? So the fraud is here. So as a taxpayer of the United States, I'm happy that they're taking the time to try to reduce a little bit of the fraud. I know fraud probably still happening, but reduce some of the fraud, and it makes the game a little more complicated. I know it's always a cat and mouse game.
I mean, and that's what's happening. So they are reviewing applications, every application. I don't care if it's 5,000 to 500,000. They're reviewing every application, making sure your NAICS code matches, making sure your tax ID matches, making sure your name. I've had people that popped up that had felonies, right? They kicked them out because, hey, you got it the first round for round 2, but, we noticed that she had a felony. And this was prior to this recent change as of Wednesday. So they had to provide court documents showing, hey, it got expunged or everything is good now, whatever the case may be. So they're going back. I even had one that said my client was deceased. So she literally had to send me her social security card, her driver's license, and show, basically proving that she's alive. So they are doing some digging, making sure all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So people are, submitting it on Monday and they're expecting a call by Wednesday saying, hey, where's my money? What's going on? It's not the case anymore. Sometimes you might get by a little quicker, but what they're doing is they are researching and digging under the weeds. So banks, unfortunately, we have to do a lot of legwork on the back end before we can get you that funding. And I know community banks like ourselves, we don't have the capacity of the whole, we have a whole department of 50, 60 people working on this program, and that's all they're doing. So they're working on other projects. They're working on traditional bank business in the midst of working on your PPP loans to get you the money that you need, right? So there's a lot of behind the scenes things that are happening. And I encourage businesses, follow up with your banker in about a week or so, double check. They are getting your money in, but it's a matter of, there might be something that they may reach out and say, hey, I might need additional information because the SBA is requiring. Don't get mad at your banker. This is not their response. This is not something that they're just putting in place just to make your life difficult. These are things behind the scenes that the government are doing. A couple of things that they're also doing.
Speaking of that, Theodis, I know some people have been going to these little internet sites for the first round of PPP and now having problems with round 2. Do you have anything to say about that? I know quite a few people like me. I got my money from blah 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 thing, like I don't know, Square or some other places. When you want to talk about that real quick?
No, that's a great point. Again, fraud, right? So there were some entities that were not so legit who were helping people get this PPP money because they were opening up the floodgates to everyone to apply or to have access to fund these type of as a vehicle to fund these loans, because that's what we had to do. That's what the SBA had to do. Unfortunately, yes, some of those businesses are invalid. And like I said, this next round, they're checking everything. So they're checking your NAICS code, they're checking your tax ID number. If that institution did something incorrect and was not a legitimate source and did not dot their I's and cross their T's like a lot of banks did, now your information is all messed up behind the scenes with the SBA inside their SBA portal. And so now banks have to fix that. So now we're having issues getting you, because you may have did it with this institution. Now you're coming to me to do it this time. And now we have to make sure everything matches. And that's not always a smooth transition. So you're right. They're trying to reduce some of those folks who were doing that. Some of those companies who were doing these loans, they've been kicked out. There haven't been access to being able to do some of this funding this time around because they were viewed as a non-legitimate source. And also, if you're doing PPP loans, financial institutions have to sign up with the government, with the US government portal called SAMS, where you have to be vetted, you have to be legit, you have to have certain criteria. to now do these loans. So now some of those people who were just able to process and be a processor for these, they're unable to do it because, again, they're being vetted by the US, by the government. So again, that hopefully will stop. And please go to your local institution, find a local bank. Don't deal with no online. I'll give you another example. I had a client reach out to me and she said, someone said they were partnering with us. She submitted her information into a portal. She paid money. How do you pay money for free money, right? Paid money to get access to this capital, and now she can't find it, right? So I don't know how much she paid them. I didn't ask because it's really not my business, but I encouraged her to do not pay them, do not give them any more information. It's likely that they took your money and ran, and so you need to find, come to me, we'll do this. And the sad thing about it was she wouldn't have qualified anyway. The business was open in August of 2020. So you had to be in business before February 15th of 2020 to qualify for the money. So that's probably why she can't find them. Probably why she paid the money, and why they was able to get over on her was because they knew she didn't qualify. So they paid her a fee and took the money. So she is out of luck. She paid money and came and qualified for the money. So please contact your local bank, contact an SBDC. Do not go for these online systems and do not pay. This money is not a fee-based product, and so you should not be paying anyone for money. So that's a great. Thank you for bringing that up. Another thing is promoting transparency. So the government is really trying to find ways to promote transparency, providing the numbers, talking about the impact of the PPP program. I encourage you as a small business, complete the demographic document. That's why they changed the application now to be able to have that demographic information on the front page, I think, instead of on the last page, which was like 7 pages, and they put it on I don't know why they did that. But anyway, they moved it up to the front page because I think it's very important, specifically minority, women-owned, minority businesses, print that out or complete that so we know that you're getting taken care of. And if you're not getting taken care of, obviously you're not completing that application. But we need to know who's getting access to this money so we can create more programs and create more opportunities to say, hey, minority businesses are getting access to this money, they're taking advantage of it. What else can we do to help these businesses thrive? So that's one thing that they're doing. They're also trying to find ways as a government, giving some of these small business development centers and getting some of these other resource centers access to digital capacity. We know some of these small businesses in rural communities or in minority communities don't have access to digital or don't have access. There's a digital divide, as we know. So they're going to try to employ resources in some minority communities and some small business resources to provide additional access to Wi-Fi and other things so people can go and apply for this money because it's very, very important. And lastly, I think what they're working on is as they are building out this program, they're going to really try to find new initiatives to kind of help fund small businesses, specifically in minority communities. I think it was there was additional 400 something billion combined with, 400 billion combined with the new money and the old money that wasn't spent. I'm pretty confident they won't run through all this money. So talk to your local constituents and talk to them about how small businesses can be benefited, because there's going to be additional funding to provide resources to small business and minority communities. If we don't speak up, if we don't talk about what our needs are, we are not going to get access to the other $1 billion that's out there, right? So we need to continue to find ways, innovators out there, Urban Financial Services is an organization who's going to find ways to how we can partner with banks and do other things to create opportunities and resources to help to solve problems for like the Biden and Harris administration and other institutions who have access to capital, because we know small businesses are what funds and feeds our community. And we need to be thinking innovatively of how we can get access to the capital to serve our community.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Theodis, on that, man. This has been a lot of great information. I'm glad you sacrificed your Saturday. I know your girls are waiting for you. to go
No,
ahead
it's
and
so
take them
good.
outside and play with them all day.
Oh yeah.
Um, Definitely. If you guys don't know Theodis, community banker, he's a great guy. We're both with the Urban Financial Services Coalition. He's the Western Region Vice President. I'm the Western Region First Vice President. It's our volunteer efforts. We always wanted to enhance our community economically, and I think this is a really good way for you guys to be educated. If you guys do have any questions, put them in the Facebook post. So next time Theodis is going, we can help you. If you have any questions or concerns, we're always a great resource for anything that comes with money. It might not be the PPP program. We could take you to the right angles and right ways for that. You guys know I knew Ideal Financial Advisor. Theodis is in banking, commercial banking, but we have the resources when it comes to money to take you to the right way, and or tell you who's going to help guide you to get on that track. So this has been a very, very powerful talk. I know you guys could have watched Tom and Jerry this morning and other cartoons, but I'm glad you guys did come in. Thank you again, Theodis, for this.
My pleasure. So I would say you have March 31st is the deadline to apply for the PPP program. Schedule C borrowers, they're opening up the window, and independent contractors, they're opening up the window for those 14 days until March 9th to get access to this funding. And it's all about you at this moment. Get your ducks in a row, get your documentation in. If you need questions, if you have questions, see the SBA.gov website. Jason, they can reach out and send their information through the portal, and we'll reach out to them. But I do encourage you to apply. You have till March 31st. In the rumor mill, they're talking about extending that. I don't know. I don't have the specifics on that. So we will let you know if they do. We'll come back and do another one of these. But I would encourage you, don't sit on your laurels and don't wait. Go out, apply. Opportunity is there to feed your families, feed your coworkers, and let's make this happen.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Theodis. If you guys are looking for a banker and you're in the Kansas City area, talk to Theodis Watson. If you're in California, reach out to me. I know some really good bankers are out here in Cali. Hope everybody have a good day. Thank you again, Theodis.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
Definitely, man.